The entire main office was decorated with blue and gold streamers, our company colors, right? The conference room had this enormous cake with Riverside Heights project complete written in gold frosting. Everyone was clapping, smiling, looking at me. I mean, they were literally giving me a standing ovation as I walked in. 3 months ahead of schedule and 20% under budget during the worst construction recession in decades. I remember standing there thinking, this is it. This is the moment when all those 14-hour days coordinating subcontractors and sleeping in my car at job sites finally mean something. My ex-father-in-law, Randolph, our CEO, puts his arm around me and squeezes my shoulder. He's beaming with this proud father smile I'd been desperately seeking for the past 2 years, ever since the divorce left everything between us so complicated. Absolutely exceptional project management, he says. Let's hear it again for what our construction team has accomplished. More applause. Someone cheers. My entire crew is looking at me with this mixture of respect and, I don't know, vindication, like they'd backed the right horse despite all the family drama. Randolph raises his hand for quiet. Today marks a turning point for our company. He's using his announcement voice now, the one that usually precedes annual bonuses or major organizational changes. With this incredible momentum, we need fresh, forward-thinking leadership to take us to the next level. I'm nodding along, thinking he's building up to my promotion, the senior partner position they'd hinted at for the past year and a half. Then the conference room door opens, and in walks this kid. Literally a kid. 28 years old, expensive haircut, designer work boots that have never seen actual construction site mud. Randolph's smile gets even wider. I'd like to introduce everyone to Ashton, my son. He'll be taking over as our new senior partner and future company president, effective immediately. The silence in that room, I can still taste it. It was like all the oxygen just got sucked out through the ventilation system. Ashton walks directly to me, hand extended. I've heard so much about you, he says. Dad says you've built an amazing foundation for me to work with. Foundation. Like I was the concrete slab they poured so this privileged kid could construct his executive office on top. I remember shaking his hand, smiling, congratulating him. Meanwhile, the emails I'd sent that morning to our 5 biggest developers were already sitting in their inboxes. Site visits already scheduled for the following week. Hey, I'm Celeste Vega, 34, and if you're wondering whether I'm the villain or the hero in this story, honestly, I've stopped caring about the difference. Before I get into what happened next, could you hit that like button and subscribe? Because this gets messy, and I promise it's a ride worth taking. Leave a comment if you've ever had your work stolen by someone who's never had to earn anything. I read every single one. So, back to that conference room. Everyone's eating cake, awkwardly congratulating this kid who's never managed so much as a backyard shed project, while I'm standing there with my career hemorrhaging out on the floor. I have been with this company since my divorce. 16-hour days. Working through a broken ankle last spring because we couldn't afford delays on the Morrison contract. When people started clearing out, Randolph pulls me aside. Celeste, I need you to help Ashton transition. Show him the ropes, introduce him to the developers, you know? I'm nodding, but inside I'm thinking about the fact that I'd just been demoted without actually changing my job description. I'd be doing the senior partner's work while Junior gets all the credit. Of course, I say. Happy to help Ashton succeed. Randolph squeezes my shoulder again. You're a team player, Celeste. That's what I've always valued about you. Team player, the construction euphemism for a woman who doesn't complain when we screw her over. I go back to my trailer office, close the door, and just sit there. Not crying, not screaming, just eerily calm. Because something inside me had finally cracked like a foundation under too much weight. You know that feeling when disappointment is so complete that it transforms into absolute clarity? That's where I was. Crystal clear, laser-focused clarity. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my friend Marlo in legal. WTF just happened? Call me ASAP. I don't call her. Instead, I open my laptop and pull up the file I'd been building for 8 months. See, I wasn't naive. I'd seen the warning signs when Randolph started bringing Ashton to project meetings, when he'd interrupt my safety briefings with innovative ideas from his son who'd never worn a hard hat in an actual work zone. The file had everything: client relationships, project specifications, but most importantly, it had the truth about our biggest client, Sterling Development. They represented 40% of our revenue, and Randolph had been falsifying safety inspection reports to keep them satisfied. I discovered it by accident 4 months earlier, and instead of reporting it, I documented everything. Insurance policy, I'd told myself. Ashton knocks on my trailer door at 4:30 that afternoon. Hey, got a minute? Dad thought we should start the transition today. He sits across from my desk, one leg crossed over the other, examining his spotless manicured nails. So what should I know first? I smile, warm, professional. Well, let's start with our active projects. Why don't we go through them one by one? For the next hour, I give him exactly what he's expecting: surface-level overviews, nothing he couldn't get from reading our monthly progress reports. He takes a few notes, mostly nods, and checks his phone at least 15 times. Great, this is super helpful, he finally says, standing. Dad's taking me to dinner with the Sterling Development team next week. Maybe you could prep me before that? Actually, I say, I've already scheduled a site visit with Victoria Sterling tomorrow. Routine inspection. Why don't you join us? Ashton looks briefly panicked. Tomorrow I have a golf tournament. With your college buddies? I finish for him. No problem. I'll reschedule for next week so you can join. Relief washes over his face. That would be perfect. Thanks. After he leaves, I send a text to Victoria Sterling, looking forward to our site visit tomorrow. I have some critical safety concerns to discuss. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on my apartment balcony, 12 floors up, watching the construction cranes dotting the skyline and thinking about loyalty, about competence, about what happens when you pour everything into a family business that sees you as expendable. My sister calls around midnight. Mom said you sounded strange on the phone. Everything okay? I tell her about the promotion, about Ashton, about standing there eating celebration cake that was honoring my accomplishment while simultaneously announcing my replacement. Leave, she says immediately. With your credentials, you could walk into any construction firm in the state. It's not that straightforward, I tell her. Why not? Why not, indeed? Was it pride? The 2 years I'd invested in rebuilding my life? The unfinished projects? I'm not finished there yet, is all I say. The next morning, I dress carefully: dark navy blazer, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. Professional. Unremarkable. The kind of woman who gets overlooked for leadership positions. Victoria Sterling is already at the construction site when I arrive. Mid-40s, sharp business suit, the kind of developer who treats construction workers like interchangeable parts. Her company had been with our firm for 6 years. Celeste, she says, adjusting her hard hat. Always efficient. Randolph tells me you've been doing outstanding work. I smile. That's actually what I wanted to discuss. For the next 30 minutes, I walk her through the actual safety inspection reports versus what we'd been submitting. I show her documentation, photographic evidence. The violations are serious enough that if Sterling had been making decisions based on our falsified reports, it could constitute criminal negligence. Victoria's expression grows increasingly grim. Are you telling me Randolph has been lying to me for years? Not years, I correct her. The falsification began 2 years ago, when I joined the company and started implementing proper safety protocols that would actually protect workers. Why are you showing me this? She demands. You realize this could destroy our partnership? I take a sip from my water bottle, calm, measured. I'm starting my own construction consulting firm. Smaller, more focused, with complete transparency. I'd like Sterling Development to be my first client. She stares at me. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Stay with a company that's been deceiving you, or move to one built on integrity. I'm not asking for an answer today. Think about it. I slide my new business card across the side table. It's simple, professional Vega construction consulting in navy lettering. I'd had them printed 3 months ago. One more thing, I add. I've accepted a dinner invitation with Randolph and his son next week. I haven't mentioned any of this to them. What exactly are you planning? Victoria asks, pocketing my card. I'm not planning, I reply. That's the difference between me and Randolph. Over the next 5 days, I met with our other 4 major developers. Each meeting followed the same pattern: documentation of safety violations, my new business card, and no pressure for an immediate decision. Ashton shadowed me around the job sites, asking basic questions about construction management I'd been handling for a decade. I answered everything thoroughly, professionally. I introduced him to the foreman, explained safety protocols, walked him through our project management systems. You're being really cool about all this, he says on Friday afternoon. Dad thought you might be bitter. Why would I be bitter? I ask. It's just business, right? He nods, relieved. Exactly. Just business. Next Tuesday brings the dinner with Sterling Development, Randolph, Ashton, Victoria, and me. We gather at Builders Reserve, this ridiculously expensive restaurant where Randolph always courts major clients. Randolph requests their finest wine, discusses weekend plans, and presents Ashton as the innovative leadership our firm requires. Victoria remains courteous but reserved. She catches my eye periodically, while I maintain a blank expression. Therefore, Randolph declares eventually, Ashton will be personally managing the Sterling portfolio. We want to provide you our elite service. Victoria touches her lips with her cloth napkin. Actually, Randolph, I've been intending to address our agreement. Randolph's grin remains steady, though his gaze sharpens. Naturally. We're always receptive to adjustments. This isn't an adjustment. We're canceling. The quiet that emerges is even more devastating than the one in that decoration-filled meeting room. Randolph's expression freezes completely. Canceling? Randolph repeats. Victoria, we've been collaborators for 6 years. If something's wrong. The issue, Victoria cuts in, is honesty. Or more precisely, your total absence of it. Randolph's gaze shifts to me, then returns to Victoria. I'm confused. Celeste has revealed the genuine safety assessment documents versus what you've been presenting to us. Ashton appears puzzled. What is she referring to, Dad? Randolph's complexion has turned pale. Victoria, whatever you believe you've discovered, I'm certain there's a logical clarification. Spare me, Victoria declares, rising. We've already contracted with Vega Construction Consulting, starting today. She acknowledges me, places her napkin down, and departs. The expression Randolph directs at me, if fury could burn, I'd be cinders spread across that dining room floor. What have you done? He murmurs. I sampled the costly wine he selected. Nothing you wouldn't have attempted. It's merely business, correct? I wish I could say that concluded it, that one client was sufficient to prove my point. But vengeance resembles those complex building developments. Once you've established the groundwork, you need to witness the entire framework finished. Before Randolph could even grasp what occurred with Sterling, the remaining 4 developers contacted us. All canceling. All contracting with Vega Construction Consulting. So this is where I need you to choose if you're accompanying me for the remainder of this story, because it becomes more intense. If you're still watching, hit that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment expressing whether you believe I exceeded boundaries or didn't go far enough. So following that dinner where Sterling Development publicly dismissed Randolph's firm, the restaurant workers nearly had to peel him from the ceiling. His complexion underwent this incredible transformation, ghostly white to bright red to this nauseating shade of violet I'd never observed on a person before. You treacherous witch, he snarled across the table. Following all I've provided for you. following how I maintained your employment when my own son left you. Ashton simply remained there, mouth agape, glancing between us like he was observing a disaster he never anticipated witnessing. I set my napkin down and rose. I appreciate the chance, Randolph. And Ashton, I faced him with my most businesslike expression, good fortune with your new role. I'm confident you'll master wearing that safety helmet correctly. As I exited, I could detect Randolph already using his phone, voice tight with fear, likely contacting his legal team. But here's the wonderful aspect of records: I possessed duplicates of everything. Every fabricated safety document, every message where Randolph instructed me to ignore infractions, every single image. When I arrived at my vehicle, my phone was buzzing frantically. First Marlowe from Legal Affairs, what have you accomplished? Then my team members, individually. Then the site manager. I switched my phone off and headed directly to my new workspace, a simple office I'd rented 3 weeks prior. The following day, the company's coverage had been cancelled. Losing 5 primary developers accounting for over 70% of your projects will cause that in the building industry. Randolph contacted me 19 times. I allowed each call to reach voicemail. On the 20th attempt, I answered. You get precisely 30 seconds, I stated. State your terms, he snarled. Anything you desire. Restore the clients, and I'll grant you complete partnership. I genuinely chuckled. That's your proposal? A partnership in a firm that's presently crumbling? What are your demands, Celeste? Cash? Accept it. 50% ownership? It's available. I desired acknowledgement for my contributions, I explained to him. I desired what I merited. But you couldn't tolerate the concept that your former daughter-in-law created something worthwhile in your firm, could you? So you transferred it to your son, who couldn't distinguish a building schematic from a dinner menu. This isn't concerning Ashton. It's entirely concerning Ashton. And your arrogance. And the reality that you believe faithfulness only travels through family connections. I'll pursue legal action against you for client stealing, he warned. For corporate spying. Proceed, I responded smoothly, and I'll present all my documentation of safety infractions to OSHA. Let's see who withstands that examination. Following an extended pause, he inquired, is this what this represents? Extortion? No, Randolph. This represents consequences. I disconnected and blocked his contact. Over the next month, my new consulting firm expanded beyond my wildest expectations. Not just with the 5 developers I'd secured, but with 4 additional ones who'd heard through construction industry networks about what transpired. Turns out Randolph had been compromising safety standards with multiple clients. My former crew members started contacting me, one by one. First, Quinn, my exceptional structural engineer. Then Phoenix, our site coordinator. Within 7 weeks, I'd recruited 9 people from my previous team. They brought with them their technical skills, their developer connections, and most crucially, their professional ethics. The communications from Randolph came through different channels now: shared contacts, trade association events. Always the same message: he was ready to compromise, to make reparations. I dismissed them all. Then one evening, after my staff had departed, there was a tap on my door. It was Ashton. He appeared transformed, more gaunt. The designer's work gear is now properly sized, but somehow less lustrous. The cockiness replaced with something resembling authentic humility. Could we speak? He asked. I motioned to the chair facing my desk. 5 minutes. He settled down, massaging his roughened palms against his denim. The company's declaring bankruptcy next week. I acknowledged this. This wasn't surprising to me. I still maintained connections in their finance division. Dad's under investigation by OSHA, he went on, and 4 other developers have initiated legal action. That seems like a Randolph issue, I said. Ashton raised his gaze, locking eyes with me directly for what might have been the first time. I was unaware of the fabricated safety documentation. I promise. Would it have changed anything if you had known? He considered this, then slowly shook his head. Likely not. Not at that time, anyway. He was truthful. I valued that. I'm not here to request your assistance, he said, or absolution. I needed you to understand that I comprehend it now. What he inflicted on you. What I participated in. I examined him for a moment. Why are you truly here, Ashton? He reached into his jacket and extracted a USB drive. This contains everything. Dad's concealed accounts, the fraudulent entities, the safety breaches he's been hiding from regulators. He's been jeopardizing workers for years. I hesitated to take it. Why offer this to me? Because you're the only person who wasn't intimidated enough to challenge him. His voice wavered slightly. And because I've witnessed my entire existence watching him demolish people who opposed his control. Including my mother. This was fresh information. Randolph's former wife had vanished from the corporate story years earlier. He pushed her into a mental collapse, Ashton continued, then exploited it to secure complete authority over me and her company shares. He's not a moral person. And I refused to transform into him. I eventually accepted the USB drive. What do you anticipate me doing with this? Whatever you believe is just, he said, rising. That's all I needed to express. After his departure, I sat there rotating the USB drive in my fingers. I should have experienced victory, validation. Instead, I felt depleted, the kind of profound weariness that follows months of converting rage into strategic action. I inserted the USB drive. Ashton hadn't overstated. Randolph had been compromising worker safety for over a decade. Millions preserved through elaborate safety circumventions. Construction agreements with concealed liability provisions. Documentation of OSHA breaches that would advance a safety inspector's entire career. What occurred next is where people typically split on whether I'm the antagonist or protagonist in this narrative. I didn't contact OSHA. I didn't alert the authorities. Instead, I phoned Morgan Pierce, the construction industry journalist who'd been documenting Randolph's company's deterioration. I have a story for you, I said, but I require specific guarantees. The following morning, her investigation was published. It outlined every facet of Randolph's safety breaches, excluding the sections involving his son. The article referenced an anonymous industry source who supplied documentation. By midday, Randolph's company had halted all activities. By nightfall, he was being led from his office complex by federal officers, cameras strobing across his weathered features. I observed it all develop on the news, seated in my apartment with a glass of wine. No applause, no triumph. Just conclusion. 3 days later, Ashton appeared at my office once more. Thank you, he said simply, for excluding me from it. I nodded. What are your plans now? He shrugged. Begin again somewhere fresh. Perhaps actually study construction from the ground level. Best wishes with that. He moved to exit, then hesitated. He consistently claimed you were the most capable person in the company. Even before everything. He was threatened by you, I believe. He should have been threatened by dismissing me, I responded. After Ashton departed, Quinn entered my office. Was that who I suspect it was? Yes. And? I gazed out my window at the construction cranes punctuating the skyline. Nothing. It's concluded. But it wasn't entirely concluded. The industry consequences persisted for months. Randolph's trial evolved into a warning story in construction safety curricula. His company was purchased for minimal value by a rival firm. Former staff dispersed to different companies, numerous joining mine. 6 months after launching Vega Construction Consulting, we relocated to expanded offices. A year afterward, we were managing developments twice the magnitude of my previous contracts. I employed 40 staff, then 60. On the second anniversary of that streamer-decorated conference room degradation, I received correspondence. No sender address. Inside was a newspaper excerpt about Randolph's conviction: 18 years for safety breaches, fraud, and reckless endangerment. Written at the bottom in unfamiliar handwriting, structures built on deception always collapse eventually. I never discovered if it originated from Ashton or another person. It was irrelevant. Last month, Vega Construction Consulting was purchased by one of the nation's largest construction management corporations. The agreement included complete independence for me and my staff, plus a board position for me. The announcement highlighted our exceptional safety standards and industry-leading client satisfaction. The paradox isn't lost on me. I constructed something from the debris of treachery that became more valuable than what was stolen from me. So that's my narrative. Not a tidy, simple revenge tale where I departed into the sunset after annihilating my adversary. The truth was messier, more complex. It demanded friendships, rest, and likely several years from my lifespan due to stress. Was it worthwhile? I continue asking myself that question. Randolph forfeited everything: his enterprise, his liberty, his standing. His son forfeited his inheritance and his family legacy. I obtained a prosperous company and industry recognition, but the woman who stood in that conference room consuming a celebration cake while being publicly superseded? She's vanished. In her position, is someone more resilient, more acute, less inclined to trust? If there's wisdom here, perhaps it's this: sometimes the most effective revenge isn't what you inflict on others, but what you construct from what they attempted to destroy. If this narrative connected with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. I'd appreciate knowing in the comments whether you believe I went too far, not far enough, or if you've ever had to reconstruct after someone tried to demolish what you built. Your experiences matter to me because they remind me that mine isn't singular. We're all waging battles others cannot perceive. Thank you for listening. This is Celeste Vega, reminding you that the finest revenge isn't served cold, it's served successfully.